Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Corpartainment. I am here with a phenomenal actor, phenomenal creator, phenomenal video game um, maker.
No, I don't make any video games.
Okay, why do I keep thinking this is a video game? I'm
It-
I'm terrible. I just want to believe that it's a video game because the concept of like hero's journey to me, I just connect that with video games all the time. So
Well,
I'm sorry.
that said, even though I am not a video game creator, I would say that yeah, eventually one of the goals is to have Diamond Dragons become also a game. Not because hey, let's capitalize on it, but
Yeah,
it
that's
kind
what
of
it was.
fits for one thing, and then really the second thing is some of the intentions that I have with building the world of Diamond Dragons and the way my planner is to film it, and I should put film in air quotes because again we're not really going to use real cameras. The idea is to generate everything in a 3D environment. And so if we do that and build it with the Unreal 3D engine, which I've been trying to plan with some of my designers, and I'll need to get more team members aboard. But then the point will be if we design a 3D world and most everything exists in this kind of virtual space, well, then we can film the shots the way we want. You can, truck the camera, it's called, or boom and jib, which is a lifting of the camera, or, tilt, which is, referred to up and down motion of the camera. But anyway, the point being is that, so then if we build it in there, then it's almost like people say, wow, dragons and a fantasy world and castles and mountains and canyons and rivers and deserts. This sounds like a great video game. I'm like, yeah, right? I mean, it's not like, oh, we're trying to make a video game out of Inception. Like Inception is a great film, but I'd be like, I don't know if you could make a competent video game out of it. It would be pretty difficult to kind of, warp that into a game. But with this dragons, everybody could imagine flying as a dragon and landing somewhere and completing some quest, and oh no, there's some enemies and therefore fire must burn, or whatever. So it could be a thing and still have the storyline behind it. So
Sorry, I have to put myself on mute so that I don't get any weird sounds from my microphone. I haven't started editing yet, so I don't know what the quality of this is going to be like. So I'm just muting myself so that the audio sounds as perfect as possible. And so therefore it'll take a while for me to actually like respond because it's on mute. But thank
that's
you
okay. I
for
mean,
explaining
also
that.
you can always do little experiments, like do a fake recording and with someone, and then you're like, okay, that was 5 minutes, and go and edit it and see what it
Right.
looks like. But yeah, I
Right.
understand. Like that's another thing about film and generating videos that most people don't think about is that the editing process is pretty um I, I wouldn't say it's like horrendous. It can be. It depends on what you're editing, but like it can be pretty robust because you're dealing with sound, you're dealing with lighting, you're dealing with what are people saying? Is it interesting? Is it engaging? Is it something that you're going to want to cut and edit around later, or are you going to want to float up something like if I mention something like, oh well, I've been working on the book cover, and then suddenly we want to float up that thing, or if we mention, oh, Matthew, tell us about your past, and oh, I used to do this, we might have images or a video of that ostensibly. It really depends on the editing. Yeah.
Right. A question for you. Now,
Sure.
you said that you're more of like a director, but you have all this wealth of knowledge in general. So you do. So, but you're more. You call yourself like a director. So I guess I can ask you like, and we see Diamond and Dragons, and you have all these different projects that you've worked on and created. What is
Right.
like your most favorite project or creation that you've created, and why?
Well, a couple things on that. There's a lot to unpack there, which would be so I'm not exactly a director in the most vanilla and homogenized sense, but yeah, I've directed a lot of my own projects and work with actors and associates and like set designers and these kinds of things because to kind of talk about what you're saying with your kind of second question, which is what's my favorite project. One of the things of all the crazy things that I've done over my past, I've mostly focused on acting and performance and theater and film and singing and a lot of things that all relate to storytelling. And so I also have done a huge amount of fencing and sword work. I was a professional fencing instructor for many years, and I coached hundreds, if not thousands, of students behind the mask and both youth and adults. And I did some of this through other academies where I learned from the fencing masters in those academies, and then I eventually decided to do my own thing. But here's the point with it is, at one point after doing a lot of that, it was around 2000, I want to say 2004 or something, and I don't know why it dawned on me, but I was like, just like one of my buddies, I'm like, you know what I've never seen, and they're like, what's that? I'm like, I've never seen a live Star Wars fight performance of any real substantiality. Like, like sure you've seen two people in costume run up and they're like, haha, and do some silliness and run away, and oh, everybody's like, that's so cool and how neat that is and da da da. But I was like, no one's ever seen it live, and they're like, well, maybe that's because the lightsaber prop, like I don't think we can build those, can we? And remember, this is going way back. This is going back to 2003 and 4, where the idea of having a electronic prop that could light up and take abuse was, I don't want to say it was unheard of, but it was extremely rare at the time. Most saber products out even in the corporate world were mostly for display. They were not meant for high level stage combat, and also they were not very bright.
Right.
So fast forward to as I started doing more and more projects, I finally put together one of the first ever really live, serious staged performances with a
Hmm.
complete, story and sound and
Wow.
music and vocals and staging and all these kinds of things. And also, I was doing some acrobatics in it and flipping and doing, Jedi
Were
things.
you
But
working for Lyft during all this time as well too? Like, how were you able to, like, sustain yourself and go off
oh
into
yeah,
all these
this is
things?
a different yeah. So this is a different time in my life. What people won't necessarily know about our conversation is, so Amor and I spoke before, and then she knows that I briefly drove for Uber and Lyft in the most recent years. But as we kind of know, Uber and Lyft did not exist in 2004 and 5. So going all the way back there, I did one of my first lightsaber performances that I directed and produced, and I built all the lightsaber props for, and so on and so on. Called Balance of Power, and it
Yeah.
can be seen on YouTube. We could provide links or even
Yeah.
short video clips or something. And so that was a lot of fun. That was, it was only a 5 minute long performance too,
Yeah.
which doesn't seem long to most people, but 5 minutes of fighting is a lot.
I guess,
And
like,
it was
with the
more of a test
yeah.
for me to try that out and see, like, is this possible to make something that's competent and also exciting, but not simply a few people going on stage and slapping around some light up weapons and have it just be like, okay, it's cool. It's just a cute little demonstration. We wanted the audience to be like, wow, holy cats. Like, I think they're going to kill each other, that kind of, mentality behind it. And you have to understand too, Amora, that this was in a time where YouTube was brand new. In fact, at the time that I was thinking about the project, YouTube didn't exist yet. But once I actually decided to grab a cast, like I basically put out the feelers into the world, and I was like, "Hey, I'm doing this project. If you want to audition, some of you actors out there in the world," and I just put the, people say, "Well, how did you do this?" I'm like, online things. At the time it
Yeah.
was even a
Yeah.
Craigslist ad. I think is one of the
Oh,
things that
wow.
I
Yeah,
did.
yeah, yeah.
When Craigslist was a thing, but and
I mean, I
so
still use
once,
Craigslist,
well,
yeah,
yeah, you know what I
but
mean.
it was bigger than, like, Facebook groups. It wasn't like we have Facebook groups and stuff like that on there.
You're getting my drift, and that's the thing is,
Yeah.
I'm setting the tone for the audience here in, ostensibly 2021 and so on and so
Right,
forth,
right.
because they might be like, "What's that?" And "What do you
What's
mean
that?
YouTube didn't exist?" I'd be like, "Yeah, at one point, YouTube was
It's
not
like,
a
yeah,
thing. In
it
fact,
wasn't a thing.
yeah, in fact, if I recall, it was basically 2005, I think, basically when I started doing this project. So this is the point. So then one of my cast members, Saya's like, Matthew, you should upload this on YouTube. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't understand. And she's like, oh, it's this new video platform, Matthew. I'm like, really? I don't understand still. Like, what do you mean video? Like, you could watch movies there? And she's like, no, no, it's like user content. And I'm like, wow, I don't even think that's I know they attempted that years ago, but it's a huge failure. No one's been able to stream live video. It's just too robust. And that's the
Right.
thing, video and sound takes up an enormous amount of space, or at least it kind of used to.
Right,
And
right.
so anyway, the long, I've made this a long story, but it's kind of pertinent, is I listened to her, and I said, yeah, I'll upload a few little rehearsal videos and we'll get to this and da da da. And then finally we upload the performance video, because we were getting, a few people were seeing it. And then I remember, like, literally I like forgot about it, was doing other things. And then Syed's been like, hey, have you checked your YouTube thing? And I'm like, oh, I completely forgot that I had made that and whatever. She's like, Matthew, you ought to check it. Like, a lot of people have seen it. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And I didn't know what she meant by a lot of people.
Right, right,
So
right,
I
right.
go over there and it's like, there's not a message saying this, but it's basically like, I'm like, you have 50,000 views. And I'm like, what the hell?
You're
Like,
like,
what
what?
happened? Like,
I've
what?
never even seen 50,000 people ever. Like, what do you mean? What is this thing?
And now the irony is, here in 2021, everybody would say 50,000 views is nothing. But back then, when it was
That was a big
absolutely
deal.
brand new, that was not only shocking for me, but also what was great about it was the reaction was primarily positive. Like, I believe at the time you could do, I don't think it was just thumbs up and thumbs down. I think it was like stars. I think it was stars
Mm,
or
wow.
something. And then it was mostly like, 4 stars, 5 stars, 4 stars, five. So everybody was like, this is amazing and I love it, and ooh, this is so nice, and oh, did he do a backflip? And and I was like, what is happening? Like, I didn't know that could be a thing, like, I had no idea. And so then I just sort of kind of kept going with that, and made videos showing people, because they'd ask about, how did you build the lightsabers? And I was like, well, now that 40 or 50 people asked that, maybe I ought
Made
to
a
do a video
Yeah.
about that. So
Yeah, make a video about that.
yeah, I
So
came in and I
so
was like,
it's
"Hey
like
guys, I know you guys are this, that, and the other." And so I'm like, "Here's the saber, and this is this, and this is that." And I explained a whole bunch of things about it, and that sort of uh, became like a cascading effect of, I met new people in the community, and then more people were asking this, and then I met this designer in France, of all things, who was
mm,
making an electronics board that made custom sounds, or allowed, I should say, it didn't make them, but it allowed for custom sounds and custom controls and lighting configurations
mm,
for custom saber props. And a big shout out to Irv Plechter of Plechter Labs, and we might be able to include a link to that as well. But what started in 2005 and 6 is just a bunch of people doing a few things, and da da da, da has now become literally a ginormous industry, where other companies have popped up, and custom LED sabers now are, I almost want to say, common, and they
right.
were not 15 years ago.
Question for
So it's
you. Question for
eh,
you, and this is a question from, like, the previous person that I was interviewing. The
sure.
previous person, they had a question for you,
Oh,
and
okay,
this is
sure.
what do you prefer I hit my mic, so it might sound weird. Okay, so we go. Do you prefer getting direction on someone's creativity or being creative yourself and hoping it fits someone else's direction? Or another way to put that would be, do you prefer working on a project that someone like micromanages and
I
gives you
understand.
direction on, or would you rather be left to your own devices?
Right. So there's a lot to unpack there too. Is so
Okay.
when we're talking about any kind of project that is larger than yourself, which is, to be honest, most projects that aren't, like, for example, your own personal workout, you don't really need a whole bunch of people involved. That you might have your own personal trainer, but that's your own. Or if you're like, I would like to crochet a blanket, you don't really need a bunch of input on that and so on. But if you're like, I'm writing a book, I am making a short performance, I want to do a piece of music, then all of it, almost by rote, becomes a collaborative process. And so when we talk about things like the background that I have, which is in acting and theater and performance and film, all of these things relate not only to collaborative projects, but storytelling. And most of storytelling has a lot of voices in it. It's pretty rare to have any kind of storytelling where it is only solely the voice of one person. Even if it's a story written by, say, even Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe probably checked in with maybe his own associates and said, hey, have a look at this. What do you think? Like, is it all right? Like, would you change anything? They're going to ask some questions, I would think. And so what I'm getting at is this: is if I'm directed in a project, I've been an actor in many projects, and it's sort of like a hierarchy, or almost you can think of it like chain of command, like military. The director is trying to achieve their vision, and then they have all these other people. Not necessarily using the word underneath makes it sounds like someone's better and you're a slave, but it's not that. It's just an actor. The job is for them to take action on what is being directed of them. A director will say, so in this scene, I really want this and this and this, and I need this, and I think that and the other and the other. And the actor has to be like, okay, okay, I got it. So you want this, like, really this, not this. And they're like, yeah. And you're like, copy that, got it. Okay. And then you try to deliver on that. Same with a director talking to a lighting designer. And they might say, hey, come here, Steven. Okay, so I imagine in this scene, it's really film noir. Like, I want to see black lighting and white, but slotted, and it's like we want that kind of, just so not natural lighting, we want that mysterious. And they'll be like, got you, I got you, I know what I can do. And then same with costuming. Someone might say to costuming, oh, I want so much color in these things. Like, I imagine all the characters are like bigger than life and all their colors are just crazy. At least the costumer can go, okay, cool, so you want wild stuff, none of this subtle, like, pastels and kind of like, you want bigger than life rainbow of colors. Okay. So my point being is, again, you're always working with people if you're working professionally and also like as a good creative soul. Now that said, some people, I want to say, they gravitate more towards building their own projects, possibly. But there's also like, how do I say this? It's sort of like wearing different hats. When I'm an actor, I have my actor hat on, and I try to provide only advice or thought process or information and execution that has to do with acting. I'm not going to tell the director how to direct the movie. I'm not going to tell him, hey, we should change the lighting, or I don't like that the camera is shooting me from over here, and I think we should be like, it's just not really any of your business. If someone asks, then you might say, like, say the shot is here. I'd be like, yeah, I don't think this is a good shot for me right now. It's not an appropriate thing for the moment. This shot is too up close and personal, but we're not doing something super dramatic. However, a shot like this would be where if it was like, now I want you to take 3 steps back, put the gun down, and put your hands on your head. Like, if they needed that shot, that was better to do it than from here because it's not as dramatic. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, yeah.
anyways, what I'm trying to get at overall is that you kind of have to just place yourself in the right role, understand what
Mhm.
your role is, and do it. If you are
Mm,
the leader of a project, you better be able to
right.
lead. If you
That makes a
can't,
lot of
then you
sense.
shouldn't be there as the leader. And a lot of times, the leader's job or a director's job is to solve problems, and pretty much all of them. Um, a lot of them come up, and it is what it is with that. So that's what they're going to do. But again, I know maybe it seems circuitous the way that I'm answering your question, but really what it is if I'm an actor on a project, then I need to
Mhm.
fulfill those objectives and those objectives only, unless people say, "Oh, Matthew, but I'd also like your advice as a coordinator." And I'm like, "Okay, that's a different question. Let me take my actor hat off and let's see about fight choreography." And I'd be like, "Huh, okay, so then I will put this hat on." But a director pretty much has to kind of understand all the hats to wear and be appropriate with directing their people in what they want. So I could probably do any of these things, but in the case of Diamond Dragons, for example, yeah, I'm the writer, the creator, essentially the director of the project, and so I kind of have to oversee all of it. Does that make any sense? I know that's a
Yeah,
lot to say.
that makes ton yeah, that makes a ton of sense because it adds context to it's not the same thing every single time. Like, in
Precisely.
general, basically what you were just saying was it depends on where you are in that moment. Like, what
Absolutely.
is your role in that moment? And that was
Absolutely.
a really great answer. Now, question for you.
Mhm. Sure.
What is a question that you might wanna ask the next person that I interview?
Oh, that's a tough one because again, I wouldn't know the scope. Like, unless you want to tell me, like, oh, well, the next person is a lawyer, they are a doctor, they are an actor, or maybe you don't know. So it's kind of difficult to understand. Well, what would I ask them? Do you know? And if not, then I can still think of something. But do you know? You don't. Okay, well then I would make it more generalistic, which would be like I would ask them what's the kind of advice that they would give, not necessarily their younger selves, but people who are getting involved in whatever it is that they're getting involved, that they've done for their lives, or whatever that they've had success at. What's the kind of advice or thought process they give to someone who's starting, you know what I mean, in
Mhm,
the things
mhm,
that they
mhm,
already
mhm.
know? What's something that they might say? Maybe, and who knows? Maybe it would be something they'd say, "Oh, avoid this with like the plague because it just doesn't work, son. Don't do it. It's bad." Or if they'd say, "Oh, actually, there was something I started with, and I didn't know at the time, but it was excellent, and I only wish I had done more of it." And I didn't because I didn't know any better. But now that I've been doing it for 5 years, I realized that something I did, even when I was starting out, was a good idea. Keep that.
Ooh,
So
yeah, I can
that's
think of stuff
probably
like
how I would
that.
cordon off that question.
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. I can't wait to ask the next person that. And yeah, you don't have very much context on the next person, and that's part of the fun. Is
Yeah.
this is like a spur of the moment question. It just kind of throws like each interview like kind of like from on a different perspective. It makes people kind of think like interesting.
Well,
And
it's
people
always
come up with
good to
great
have
stuff.
to think. In fact, that's what I always hated about a lot of things where you'll see conversations out there about politics or something, and people say, "Oh, you're probably just a communist." And I'm like, that sounds like an excuse for you just not to have to think. You know, it's I like it when people are forced to consider their words, think about what it is that's being asked of them, and then try to present it in a context that isn't just coming from ego or personal experience. Like, for example, if someone says, "Oh, that one I hate that movie," I'd be like, "Oh, really? Why is that?" They're like, I hate elves." And I'd be like,
Like,
"Oh, okay. So
okay.
to you, this whole film is just jank and awful because you don't like elves." And they're like, "Yeah, it's a stupid movie." And I'm like,
Hmm.
"Oh, okay." What?
Okay, so
You're
let's
like, "That
think
doesn't
a little bit
that's
about
a
that.
personal opinion," but it's like you are aware that even though you don't like something, something could hold great value, and so it's always good to know the difference between when you're going like, "My personal opinion is this, and I don't like it, but I am aware that it's very, astute and powerful, and a
Mhm.
lot of intelligence has been put into this, project," whatever it is, and how often I'm sure you've seen that, Amora, right, where people, um, they almost voice their opinion as if it's fact, and you're like, I don't know, I don't know about that, where they're like,
I've
"Well, I
seen
don't know,
that a
man, I
lot.
think the Earth is flat," and I'd be like,
I've
really?
seen
Why?
that
Why is
more
that?"
than I would have
And then
liked,
they'll
but
try
then
to,
I've seen that.
they'll try to capitulate or something, and I'll say, "Well, do you have any direct evidence that it's flat? Because I'm down to find out. I would love that because it means I could walk a lot more places. You know what I'm saying? Or I don't know. I'm just making it up. But right, like then when they can't, you're like, ew, that sounds like if I said, well, the moon is made of cheese, and then they're like, no, it's no, it isn't. And I'd be like, yes, it is because I believe it, man. You'd be like, what? That's not right. you know?
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, Matthew, to come
Sure.
and speak on my show. Where can we connect with you and what can we look forward to moving forward regarding your work?
Well, thanks again for interviewing me on the show. That's good. It's always good to be able to communicate with other artists and see what they're up to, and kind of get the feelers out there. But essentially, right now, my main goal is working on Diamond Dragons. So as you can see behind me, this is one of not the final draft of the book cover, but I've been working with my team of artists. They're a great team of artists to get this cover completed so that I can publish the book version. That said, the screenplay version of Diamond Dragons, I developed that and wrote it in 2018 and to 19. So people can find out more about this just by probably searching my name, which is tough. Matthew Carauddo. It's a little bit tough to spell last name, but my name is Matthew with his two T's, and then the last name is pretty tough. It's Cauddo. And the way I you should usually tell people just to make them remember because it's funny is it's like, car, like driving a car, Car, then Auddo because I'm Italian. Because I'm Italian. Hey, you. But
I
yeah, Diamond
love it.
Dragons can be discovered that way. People can email me, which is diamonddragonstail@gmail.com if they have any questions, something pertinent about the stories, if they wanted to read a few chapters of the book or even get a few scenes of the screenplay. There's just a
Ooh.
wealth of information when people go to the YouTube channel, because I've created a sort of 20-minute pre-visualization of the screenplay version, not the book in this case, but the screenplay version, so that people kind of can get an idea. It's a very rough pre-visualization, but it will give people an idea of like, ooh, is this what this world's going to be like, and how interesting these characters could go so many ways, and oh, I like this. And like a lot of people, they've said, oh, we really like your bad guy, Matthew. And I'm like, I know, right? He's a good one, huh? Nitrozite. So
Well, thank you so much, Matthew, and I hope that you will join us again in the future and have a wonderful rest of the day.
yeah, you too, Maura. Thanks, and it's been a pleasure.